Good evening, footies, and welcome to episode 687 of this wonderful FC podcast, the number one independent FC podcast out there. Welcome to our second of our deep dive into gameplay and the latest pitch notes. We're going to talk about physicality, control first touch, ultimate compete camera, new play styles, FC IQ, and accessibility. But let's be honest, you don't want to hear my views on it. Let's get an expert on here. And there is no truth in the matter that Race in Review is going to be on fire this week because of Max Verstappen's amazing performance in the Grand Prix today. He's sitting there with a huge smile on his face. He's absolutely beaming. It's my good friend, a massive Max Verstappen fan. It's John.
Hey mate, thanks for that amazing intro. It is true though, to be honest. When there is no fine art footballing this weekend because of international duties, there's no FC to play because we have to wait a little under 2 weeks before we can actually go. Then Formula One is the place for me to be, and well, what best to do than celebrate a victory from the Dutchman? So yeah, I'm happy as can be today.
I am not going to spoil the show that you're going to put on this week. I'm sure it's going to be absolutely amazing for Race in Review. So if anybody out there who's a Formula One fan has never checked out, please check out Race in Review with John and my good friend James as well. For us who are Brits, we're a little bit disappointed. We're not sure it was a great race. It was exciting to start with, but I'm sure John and the guys are going to talk it through and make it really exciting for you guys out there. But that's not what you come for. You didn't come here for the racing. You come here for FC in, as they say. And we're going to talk about one of the most important things for me, being a Brit, is physicality and what it means for the game. So I'll just read what it says. Their goal is to give you added consistency with the shield button, allowing you to protect the ball, be it when receiving a pass, when the opponent presses against you when controlling the ball, or when bumping a marker with your shoulder as you dribble to make a bit of space. So it sounds like that this game is going to be a lot more physical, John.
Well, or does this game actually allow you to be a little bit more physical? And I think, and again, if you watch the YouTube version or the Spotify version, the video versions of this podcast, you'll see it on screen as well. We'll keep running a couple of videos there. But shield trapping, getting the ball into your big, strong striker, holding the ball up, and then forward linking play just is not really possible in the current version of FC, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's something they really wanted to do in FC 26. So it felt a little bit strong at the start, to be honest. But basically, you can now pass the ball to a striker or a midfielder and actually use the physicality of that player to shield the ball, which is hugely important also in real life football these days. And it just saw, for example, Netherlands play a match in real life. And what we saw there, for example, Quinten Timber playing in midfield, he just doesn't lose the ball. You give him the ball, he just uses every part of the body to make sure the opponent can't even get near the ball. And I think that's something in FC which was, if it worked, inconsistent, and if, unfortunately, most of the time it just didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they spent a lot of time, I think, working there. It is strength dependent, if I get that correctly now. So stronger defenders are actually better at getting the ball still back from a somewhat less stronger striker. And I hope it's good. I'm a little bit afraid it might be a little bit too strong. But the thing is, Chris, people are not used playing FC like this.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's usually go to the side, go for a through ball, go for a cross, or cut inside, pass and shoot. If it is actually efficient, this could lead up to being able to use like a one striker formations far more consistent.
Mm-hmm.
It could lead to different styles of play. It can lead to, for example, I'm already thinking, hey, if you use a 4-4-1-1, for example, and you have a strong cam or a strong striker, you pass the ball to the striker, you can shield off the ball and you can send the cam for a run. That might actually enable things we have not seen that often before. So yeah, I'm looking forward to do this. I think there are a couple of things which they can tune playing on the beta. Some feedback I gave, I found a little bit too strong. They said there is a tuning mechanism in how long you can shield, depending on how much short team fatigue you have. I didn't quite notice that too much, so maybe that's something they can tune still. But it's good, right? And you just do it by, if you receive the ball, by hold L2 or LT on Xbox. So pretty easy to use as well. Basically, how you should use shield on defending, but now you actually use your body to get in between. I'm a fan. How does it sound to you?
It sounds great. Being a Brit, it sounds absolutely amazing. We love the big striker up top holding the ball up for allowing the wingers to come into play, you know. So I'm thinking the likes of Lukaku, Gyökeres, who's now at Arsenal. He's 6'2", John. So I mean, if he's strong enough, he'll be decent. McTominay, potentially, and in midfield as well. You could see him bossing the game. So no, I think certainly it definitely is an improvement going forward. And I think what I said basically, as you showed them the video there, and happens a lot. I think when people put high pressure on, you pass the ball forward, and for some reason the defender, because of high pressure on, is more hungry to get the ball than your wide player or striker, and that's one of the frustrations when you're trying to play out of defence. So that might make a difference to the game.
Definitely. Now, you also have the same option with the contested box out, I think it's called, which is, if I am not mistaken, it's the higher up version of that ball. Get the ball in and then hold it. And I think this is something you see a lot, like in real life, defenders trying to climb over a striker to get the ball, right? Or the defender trying, or the striker getting in front of it. It's something that's not really well done in FC. And if this works out, and again, we'll show you some footage when you're watching the visual version of this, I think it might actually help now a lot. You can now play the ball high, set your body in between, hold it, and I think that feels more fun. It's also a good way of getting out of pressure. When you used to play pressure, you play high pressure, then the only options you had is get past a player and then build up from there, or use your goalkeeper again. Now you can actually pass the ball to your goalkeeper, for example, go for a long ball. And if you do have a strong backup in striker or in midfield that can do these contested box out, then it's a good way to get out. Works for defending as well, of course. So you can also have strong defenders can be very potentially useful holding this off. One strong midfielder, one holding six, I'd almost say. Yeah, these are changes that make me really happy because they aren't so apparent that they're not there, but they can definitely will be apparent when you start using them in the new game. I'd reckon, honestly.
No, I mean, I think anything that makes a game more realistic and allows you that to feel that you're actually on the pitch in real life makes a big difference. Just on the videos you showed there, you're looking at it and thinking to yourself, Virgil van Dijk at the start of the game, he always is special, isn't he? But he could be super special, especially if you pair him up with someone like Kanate. I mean, that is a really strong centre-back partnership and two big, strong guys, isn't it?
Yes, but also all their slower defenders can now have more of a role. When, for example, let's say you put a CDM in your team that is strong and big. Not necessarily good passer, but you could use one as a sort of bruiser playstyle.
Yeah.
And we'll come on playstyles later. But this gives you also a tactical option to deal with certain situation. I know we've been talking about, what can Rodri actually add to a game? He's not this defender type guy. But if you put someone next to him and this one get the ball off the players and hold off the play, and you can go to the side and do it again, could be very cool. Also, for example, Haaland last year wasn't considered a top tier guard, but he's definitely one of the strikers that can either hold up a ball, pass the ball back, and then go for one of those super sprints, right?
Yes.
He potentially looks to be one of the players that's on my list for, maybe see if you can make that work at the start of the game, because it can definitely make a difference, especially when defenders aren't that strong at the start.
No, I mean, I think that is one of the things that, if you look at Haaland, he's very good at pinning down defenders, isn't he? If you watch him in the box, he's always leaning on them, using his physicality. I think his first season, I think a lot of defenders got a bit of a shock coming up against him. I'm not sure his second season was as good as his first one. I think if you watch the first one,
the team wasn't as good as
no, the team wasn't as good, but I think defenders start to get used to it. When you first watched him at the very start, he would, he would hold them down, even if it was just keep them off. As you say, that's going to be an interesting part of the game. So, no, I'm all for it, John. It's almost like EA have went back and found some football experts and got really, really ramped up for it, you know?
Yes, the only thing I need to emphasize is that it's not necessarily more realistic, because I think generally you have the feeling that it feels a little bit less realistic. But I think this is a good thing they added to the new, less realistic gameplay in general.
Yeah.
That
No,
makes sense.
definitely. No, I understand that. Yeah, I get that. I mean, look, it's a video game, isn't it? But when people are chaining skill moves left, right, and centre, that is unrealistic. This actually feels part of football, doesn't it?
True. No, I'm very happy with this change. I, for one, would like. I've always said if you can get defenders like Hero or
A
I don't
Puyol
know.
or someone like that, even.
Exactly, those guys are like good on the first start. Those guys are smart to get in front of someone, use the body in the right way, even though they're not necessarily the strongest one. But they are never the strongest one, but they also never are the fastest one. So basically, nobody uses them in the game.
Mm-hmm.
This could give them an advantage on that as well.
Exactly.
A Rijkaard, for example, as a center defender, or a Koeman, sounds like, pretty nice to try it now.
And you've also got one who's also a master defender, wasn't he? Baresi, who is in the game, and nobody uses him. And if anybody's ever seen him play, been lucky enough to see him play in real life, I mean, what a defender that was. He was absolutely tremendous.
Yes, and smart, came a lot in front of the player, actually saw the ball coming before players get the ball. But yeah, no, it's I see potential. I do, like I said about the shielding, it can, if it's not properly tuned, then I do think it might be one of those mechanics that you need to use all the time. The problem is, Chris, I think, okay, let me put it like this. Speed can be abused. If speed's too good, you will get only speed boosters and you will only get people sprinting forward or giving a true bomb. That's it, right? This, if you give them the option to also use a target man in this situation, they'll hold up the play and go back, and it's usable. I think that's good because it will lead to different sets of gameplay. What happens a little bit too often, and I'm not saying it's the case this year so far, of course, but what could happen and what happened in the past a lot when they introduce mechanics that are built like this, they are often a little bit too strong, especially at the start.
Yeah.
Making it not an option, but almost an obligation to use it. And that's the only thing I'm a little bit concerned about.
Yeah. I mean, it's like me, myself, and low-driven shots, John. You know, almost
I
every
said the same about low-driven shots. These are the shots you need to practice in a new game. Hold both. Use all the modifiers you can, but double tap is the way to go.
But John, when you play, if you're still playing FC 25, most of the goals that you will lose will be low-driven shots. So it becomes not an FC football simulator, it becomes a low-driven shot simulator. And I understand, so that's why I get your point about the physicality. As you say, when they put something new in, they tend to not force it, but they tend to tweak it so much to make it work, don't they? They probably overcompensate, if I'm being honest with you.
Yeah, and it's hard, of course, because you always have to tune it with the gold cards or the silver cards or the non-informed cards you're using at the start as well, which makes it harder. But I'm pretty confident, and I give credits to the idea because this was something I don't think many people actually commented about last year. But I think I've experienced it myself now. I do think it's something that adds depth and possibility to the game, and that should always be a good thing.
No, definitely. So, John, we'll move on. I think we've done that physicality to death, and people want us to move on. So, controlling the ball and first touches. So, I'll read what EA have said. They've said, our goal with these improvements is to make players feel more agile and in control of the ball, especially when trapping it. So, they've gave us certain different types. They've got first touch responsiveness, ball control, first touch precision. Anything that you want to discuss on that, John?
I don't think we don't need to deep dive necessarily too much into this topic. I do get what they're saying, and I think the biggest change you will see basically, and I'll show the video in a moment as well, but it's if you get the loose ball or contested ball and you sprint, Now it's like you sprint immediately on full speed with the ball towards like to where not on the ball, but towards the ball, I should say. Right? It's often that you know where the ball is going to get, but you can't get there fast enough because they don't like to sprint that case immediately. And I think what they are aiming for is, let's say there's a contested ball up in the air, you know where it's going to be, that if you see that where it's going to be and you press the sprint button to go there, it immediately hooks up and you are able to be there, meaning that your reaction time on moments like this actually would matter. It gives you the option to be there in time if you've spotted it in time or are experienced enough to do so. And I think that's a good thing because how often do you miss a through ball, a lofted through ball? You know where it's going to happen, but your player isn't fast enough going to sprint in that area. In this situation, you do think your opponent is going to give a through ball and a lob through ball, for example. And now you can say, okay, I see it coming, I switch to the player and I sprint immediately, making it so it looks a little bit unrealistic on the animation, perhaps, but it does make manual defending, for example, I think much, much more efficient in this way. And it's a skill you can learn yourself to defend through balls better as well. So in the end, I think it's a really good change. Yeah, and I can only applaud that one. It's a hard one to explain, so I'll try it once more for like back from basics. Used to be, let's say you give a through ball from midfield over the back line from there, from the last line. You had to switch to that player in the last line and then turn right, for example, and sprint, get the ball in front. And that usually takes 1 second too late before you start sprinting, and therefore you miss the through ball, making lofted through balls too good. Like there's there's a couple of ways to do it. Double tap R1 makes the defenders already move with it, for example, is a good way of defending it. But manually walking in those areas was not done, especially also with corners, for example, you know where it's going to get, but you can't get there in time. A contested ball in the defense, you can't get there in time. Now it switches faster and you get the defender faster because I think switching is actually a little bit faster, but also it starts sprinting immediately. The reaction from your defender is immediately, making it a little bit unrealistic, but far more able to get the ball moments like this. And I think if you practice this, manual defending, like selecting the player and sprint in front of the ball, for example, with through balls, I think this could make, especially at the start of the game, make a big difference because many people will start FC26 trying to give you those through balls, like scoring from through balls. If you can actually defend them this time because you can see it coming, select the player, and the player is going to be in time, that's a massive advantage you can get yourself in. So, yeah.
I mean, we do know our good friend James, who was on the show on Friday. He loves first touch, doesn't he? It's a playstyle that he reckons that you need for any player. So, do you see that changing at all, John, or is it just this defensive side of it? I mean, first touch.
No, the attacking side, of course, I think even more, and which is also good, right? If you had the ball on a good pass, that first ball that just needs to be a little bit sharper, I think works better. Same goes on defending. When you get the ball, you hold L2 now, and actually, when receiving or intercepting a pass, hold L2 will also improve the player's ability to control the ball. He's going to be slower, but it's much more controlled. So if you pass a ball to a player and you hold L2 the moment he gets it, right? That ball's way more controlled than if you wouldn't touch L2.
Yes.
But if you get the ball and you want to turn away and go for a sprint, for example, open up, then you don't hold L2. And that's that's faster now as well.
Right.
So again, you get the option to, hey, I play controlled while holding the L2 when I get the ball, making the player movement slower, but hey, more efficient. Or you want to boost up your play, but be a little bit more risky on passing, doing it directly or doing a first touch. And those first touches are much better than they were before as well. And from a tactical perspective, if you want to control the game, you hold L2. But what you can also do is I play the ball to my left midfielder every time, hold L2. You do that 3 times in a row. But the 4th time, the player will step in. And then is when you turn open and you take that new first touch and then open up. and making it a wide opening and making the way you actually receive the ball way more important than what you do on the first touch, way more important than before. Making it less based on, how do you say it, automated systems you've got.
Yeah.
But I do think this will make also on a higher level or on a level where you practice these things, it gives you so much more control, so much more options that I think it's actually really fun to try. How many people will start sprinting the moment they get the ball bounces off their feet?
Yeah.
You can, as for coaching, I can say, okay, hold the L2 now to make it more controllable. But don't do that. Just don't do that when you're in a rush because it takes more time. I think it gives you many options to do. This is something that gets a little bit less attention. I think on the defensive side, it's a really good change. On the offensive side, I think it's a fun change, especially because left stick dribbling is way better now. But you got to experiment with this. And I think it's something people don't actually... and when I look at the pitch notes, Chris, when I spoke about the pitch notes, these deep dive notes in the last 2 weeks, right? Many people have seen the attacking side of things. And I said, if you hold L2 on controlling, you will improve the ability to control the ball. And they were like, I didn't read that. Like, yeah, well, it's like on top of all those things with passing, it's there. But because it's not attacking, people didn't see it or didn't remember it. So it's also, I have to mention it, how earlier you hold the L2, the more control the player will have. So you can also make it your own to just always hold L2 after a pass, for example.
Definitely, John.
Don't want to go into too much details, but I am going to now. Sorry about that.
No, it's and John, if people want to get this sort of insight and post questions, where can they go? Do we have a Discord?
Yes, of course. I can go to patreon.com/FUT-IN-review. Support the show. Get these shows a whole lot earlier than on the normal releases. We'll have the coaches from Foot Coaching in the Discord as well, including myself. You can always add coach in the Discord server, and they will reply, or I will reply to them. And all these moments, these things, the first couple of weeks will be training. Like the first week will be making this practice perfect, so to speak. But after the first week, we'll do coaching through footcoaching.com if you really want to pay more attention, I think. And if I also mention that if you are a Patreon supporter, by the way, Chris, we've added something this year, namely foot coaching credits. So if every month you support us, depending on the tier, you get a certain amount of credits. And those credits you can redeem for a coaching session at footcoaching.com.
Wow. So
you can save up for a free session. You can say, my credits, outstanding credits is £10, whatever. That's your discount. Perfectly fine. So the more you support Foot in Review, the cheaper the coaching gets next to it. That's also, and that's added benefit above every other benefit you get from the Patreon, of course. Yes, but
amazing, John. Absolutely amazing. Well worth it. Having done the coaching myself, I can tell people it's absolutely brilliant. Will take your game to the next level for sure. But John, we move on to our next segment, and strangely, this is the one I'm most excited about. I don't know why. Having read through all the pitch notes, is the Ultimate Team competitive. Did I get this right? Competitive camera. Not easy to say when you've got a Scottish accent. And I watched the video and I absolutely love it. So let me read it out before you load up the video. It says, we also created a new Ultimate Team competitive camera that is exclusive to the Ultimate Team Stadium. So I won't be able to use Ibrox, unfortunately. This camera provides a way to see more of the pitch while still showing off the stadium and its atmosphere. This camera is on a rail, ensuring more predictable pad angle behavior to aid competitive gameplay. John, this sounds amazing, and it looks amazing also.
Yes. Well, it sort of looks amazing because the camera, the videos we can use for this podcast are from the deep dive. And I think they used a potato to record the video about the camera. So I'm going to put it on, but I'm like, it's going to look beautiful on socials, but not on big screen, I'm afraid. I think there must be something wrong with the upload. But basically, this is the co-op cam extended as much as you can. but it looks a little bit nicer because you actually see stands, I think.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
What I did not like about these, I don't know how it's called, cinematic camera, dynamic camera, I think it's called actually in
Yeah.
FC25, which looked nice, to be fair. But what it does, it also tilted the camera. So it was on rails, but it also zoomed in, sort of panned left and right, making the angles on goal weird and not always consistent. If you could get motion sickness, you would be getting motion sickness from this camera, I think. And I said last year, I just used like the co-op camera, go to custom settings, zoom out as much as I can, because then I actually see the much of the pitch. Plus, the most important thing, it's on rails, meaning it's always the same distance, always the same size, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is the better version of that. And I'm a huge fan of implementing that. I think this is the standard like the stadium is going to be the standard on FUT Champs, I suppose.
Yeah.
So there's no point, except posting rights, to use any other stadium than this stadium, I think. And you might as well use this camera, because if EA is smart, they also use this camera for all the competitive games and streaming games, because it does
Mm-hmm.
show you the stadium a lot better, but also it looks really beautiful to analyze things. You can actually see a lot of things on the pitch. You can see the lines better. So yeah, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of most visual things they've done this year, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
And this one I can only applaud.
No, definitely. I mean, I tell you, John, why don't we, if we're talking about visual things, why don't we move to accessibility then? Because I know that's something that's quite close to your heart in terms of what they've done for accessibility. And let me just read a little bit about what they've said as well while you find that. We know accessibility matters to our community, and we have worked closely with our Accessibility Design Council to introduce a range of new accessibility features in EA Sports FC26, and are one of the first ever sport titles to include a high contrast mode. John,
Yeah,
what do you think
so
of this then?
I think I've said it on Friday show as well when I spoke about this with James Delanda, but I do think accessibility is very important and not necessarily made only for people that have an inaccessibility, or you say it? Maybe a handicap. I think that's a little bit harsh to say, but it can be important for many people.
Mm-hmm.
It also, we've said it, I've had trainees that are colorblind, for example.
Yes.
Which makes it hard for them to actually see the radar properly. I've had many people, and I'm one of those persons myself, that have issues when I use a ball with black in it, but there's plenty of shadows on the pitch.
Yes.
Right? When you have a good HDR television, the shadows from the pitch usually have the same color of shadows, for example, that were from the players. But it's also hard when the ball doesn't have a shadow in those same shadows, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So it made some stadiums hard to use. It makes gameplay inconsistent because, well, during the weekend you play in a FUT Champ stadium. During the week you might play in any give and take stadium, right?
Yes.
With different shadows, different color nets, etc., etc. And I think the most important changes we've seen this year on the accessibility that can be used for anyone is, for example, the high contrast mode, making you can give your players, them all look shiny red while your opponent's always shiny blue. No matter what kit they wear, there's just sort of a hue around them, right?
Yes.
Does it look nice? No, it doesn't. Is it important? Does it allow more people to play this game? For sure. So
Yes.
why not? Right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that if you enable it, your opponent will see that way. So it's for you, for your sake. I do think, for example, the fact you can turn player shadows on and off now is an important one. I keep them on because that would be weird, I think. But for example, what I do really like is the fact you can turn stadium shadows off, Chris.
Yes.
That's something we've been asking for a decade now, right? And there's a couple of accessibility access in there which are not to be underestimated. For example, remap right stick functionality. You can, if you want to use your left stick for running because you find it easier or it helps you with a handicap, why not? I think giving those options is just extremely important. So high contrast mode is cool, by the way, because what it basically does is it sort of looks like it. They actually have a video about it, I think, as well, which will turn on. But it makes it look like it's sort of black and white, but the players are highlighted in color, making it far less distracting if you have a problem with your eyesight, and much easier to follow, right? And I think getting those things in, except it's also marketing, of course. It's the first sports game that does it, but it's a very good thing to do. Never hurts anyone, and I think it just is always important. I think it's underrated. The also thing is, Chris. Normally, when you go into the accessibility, you have to teach people, for example, then those cursors on top of players' heads, right?
Yes.
You can also increase or decrease the size for years.
Yes.
Yes. But also these colors will sometimes match with the pitch, etc. For example, makes it hard to see. So I always say to players that have trouble with it, put that higher. And they're like, where is that? Where can I do that? Well, you go into the accessibility options, you do it. Where are the accessibility options? Did you know that if you start up the games the last couple of years, you have to press, I think it's the L2 button, the L3 button, the left stick, then it opens up the accessibility options. Yes, that's on the left down side, I think, on the screen. I don't have it in front of me. But it's, if the background's a different color, you can hardly see that. So it's actually hard to see the accessibility options themselves. Now, if I got this correctly, is now when you start the game, you get the option to see a video about the accessibility options and decide one time what you want to turn on and off, making that guidance into the options a good thing. I will turn shadows on a page off. I don't see a reason not to do that, for example. I think it's good. It's underrated. I don't think it's talked about enough. But combine that with the simplified skill move, of course, which we discussed Friday, and only good things. It doesn't hurt anyone, and it can be beneficial for many. So it doesn't do anything with the gameplay. It doesn't enthusiasm too much players. I know, but I find it. I found it annoying it wasn't there. And I don't even have an issue with anything of these, right? Except the shadows.
No, I understand that. Yeah, no, I get that, John. No, I mean, the more players we get on the game, the better, isn't it?
Yes, and don't forget how many people play a game like FIFA because they used to play football, but they can't anymore because of circumstances.
Yes.
They should be able to play FIFA, no matter their circumstances, I think.
No, that's
so
well said,
giving
John.
them more options to do that. I want to commend EA on this, and I think like I could talk about hours for this, but it's good. It's there. It's taken too long. I think PlayStation in general, the last couple of years have been very good about this. And yeah, please keep it going.
No, definitely. So now, John, we move to our second last content, which is the new playstyles. But first, I'm going to tell you the 4 that have been removed from the game. So 4 playstyle pluses that have been moved for playstyles and playstyle pluses moved the game is Power Header, Aerial, Travella, and Flare, which I'm sure we're not sad to be losing. But what they have done is they've added Enforcer, Aerial Fortress, Precision Header, Game Changer, and Inventive. Do you want? We'll not talk about all of them, John, but is there a couple of them that you've maybe has piqued your interest?
To be honest, not necessarily right now. I think Travella removed made sense. The Flare didn't do too much, so why keep it in? Like, I sort of get that. I quite like Precision Header that it's in. I found crosses so inconsistent in the beta that I didn't care too much about trying headers. I can't really say much about it. But basically, heading has been underrated for underpowered, I should say, and therefore not used too much. It's hard, though, to get headers right because you can easily make headers too strong, like we had a couple of FIFAs back. And especially when there's now teams with 11 Zlatans in it, Chris. You don't want it to be too strong either. So
No, but it's a part, John. You know me. I love headers and crossing, and we've talked about this
You're
numerous
Scottish,
times.
mate. I didn't expect
Yeah, I'm
anything else from
Scottish,
you.
and we talk about it in Football and Review as well, don't we? Our new football show that we do. For me, it's great. I just hope they've got it right, because there's actually, the whipped pass play style plus when it first came out was amazing. A player like Batcha was amazing to use to fire that ball into the box for headers, and it's been lost. So I think if they bring back this along with that, so you're actually two play styles are coming in for one of this. You'll have the whip cross one and also this one as well. So for me, it's an absolute godsend as well that this is coming.
The one I do like is Enforcer, though, if I can already talk about that one.
Mm-hmm.
Especially Enforcer Playstyle Plus.
Yes.
Because that's where the shielding gets more effective. Just so to double dip on the shielding we just spoke about, if they have the Enforcer PlayStation Plus, the Enforcer Playstyle Plus, they're actually way stronger. And you can have that, like that's a attacking one.
Yes.
So you have an attacker that can actually use the shoulder bars, so to speak, themselves as well, which is cool. I think you need it, but I do think it gives other forwards, and especially, for example, a good cam or a good winger that's not very agile, but they give them an option to actually use their body to get the cross in, for example. And again, enables a different kind of gameplay instead of using left stick dribble, doing a skill move, sprint boosting, which isn't a thing anymore, but sprinting past someone and go for a cross reader and cut inside and drag back. You can now maybe force your way through literally by using your body if you have a fast wing. The thing I was thinking about is that it could actually make, I'm so afraid to say this, but shapeshifters, for example, way more fun.
Mm-hmm.
Or actually, no, I should rephrase that. It could actually make game change, like shapeshifters, fun.
Mm-hmm.
Because now you have that big guy as a right winger.
Yeah.
And if he has the playstyle plus from Enforcer, then that card might actually be fun to use and make more sense than giving him a 5-star, and giving check a Enforcer plus, for example, and put him in as a forward would make him makes much more sense to me than giving him I don't know, the option to do jump circles around the ball. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
No, I understand that, John. I think I think you're going to look at it again, if you get a player like Virgil van Dijk, with that, he's going to be an absolute monster. Kanate, Upamecano, you're thinking of these big, big defenders that you've got. When you're talking about there, I'm thinking about a Patrick Vieira. So, it might be,
those are defenders, right? So they don't have this.
No, but I'm just thinking, in terms of if, Patrick Vieira for a shapeshifter one, though.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
You know what I mean? From that point of view.
Oh, don't bring him on. Oh, now the Pandora's box has opened, I'm afraid.
So, big Paddy the Baddie there, barging through and scoring goals. So remember, you hear
honestly,
first.
here's a good example. And we've not seen that card before, I think. But Ruud Gullit at Feyenoord was a right forward.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And he wasn't the right forward that just did sprint moves and stuff. He was a right front forward that used his body to create some space and give a cross. Made more sense now. So
no, definitely. So the thing about that then, John, that moves on very nicely to our last item, which is new player roles. And I think there's 4 of them has been developed, and I'll just quickly read them. It's called FCIQ. Our changes to FCIQ and FC26 are focused on improving areas of the system based on community feedback, covering gaps in positions, roles, and adding a couple of new elements that better match real football. The new player roles in FC26 are ball playing keeper, wide back, inverted wing back, and I think this is what you potentially thought Ruud was at Feyenoord, which is a box crasher. Any of them pique your interest, John?
Right.
No,
so right. the ball playing goalkeeper was something that you really needed actually last year when they played high pressure, right? Wasn't really an option. It's good to have it now. I think it's perfect. And I think it actually, there's a lot of teams that use a ball playing goalkeeper that you can see sometimes it's more important to have a goalkeeper that's actually good at with the ball at their feet and used to build up than it is that they're actually good goalkeepers, right? The higher the teams are, the higher level the teams are, it's the more important it gets for goalkeepers to be good with their feet and to be more as a sort of the 11th man on the pitch instead of just holding up a ball. But I do think I'm not going to go through all the rules. We put it in the notes. You can also read it. But I think it's important that they took the feedback from FCIQ and aligns with what Archam said. And what Archam said on day one last year is that there's gaps in what he wanted to do, and he can't do that anymore. And I said, I get what you're saying, and I don't necessarily disagree, but I like the fact they started anew, build slow, make sure everything that's there works, and then start building upon that. And that's exactly what they're doing here. So, yes, a white back could be very useful if you play a 5 at the back, for example, where you can say to one of the center defenders, wait, if you put it on a white back and that attacking fullback at Dumfries, for example, goes running up, he takes over for that position, right? Last year, we couldn't actually do 5 or 3 at the backs because the counters were too effective and the through balls were too fast over the wings. And you lost the ball, that meant that the whole side was open. If you now lose the ball and you have a white back in the center defender that can, you have someone on white back that can cover that space, immediately nullifies that effect and enables you again to do more tactically than you were able to do last year. Of course, the system will have its limits. The system, there will be things that will be too strong at the start for sure. But I like the fact they kept most of it in, kept it looking mostly the same, and just start tuning it in a proper way. So I'm very happy with it. I don't know necessarily are these rules better. The fact they say attacking positioning is less constrained by the rules, for example, could also be annoying if they're too less distracted. Yeah, like what are you doing there? I didn't want you to be there. I wanted you to be there at the 10 position. What's this?
Yeah,
I have no idea how strict or how flexible or this is gonna be. But I think generally speaking, there were a couple of things lacking at the start of last year. There were options. They added those options. They will have more positions and roles plus and plus available from the start, which was a big thing last year. It took way too long before anyone else got certain roles plus, right? I mean, I said, for example, at the goalkeeper things, you need far reach plus preferably, and there were 2 goalkeepers that had that for the first 2 months. I think that was an oversight. There were defenders that you wanted to go use as a fullback. You couldn't use them because they don't have a role, but they do have it in real life, for example. You see them play, and the other way around. So I think giving them more options is always a good thing. So yeah, I'm hopeful. I'm actually happy with this so far. And again, it can be a little bit too much. But you saw last year they added the false thing or classic 10. Yeah, they all added the classic 10 halfway through. I think this is a system that will allow for experimentation. This is a system that allows for flexibility. And apparently it's pretty doable to keep balancing it even throughout the year.
Right, okay.
So, yeah, I don't see anything wrong with it. Do you?
No, not at all. I'm looking at Box Crasher. For me, when you're talking about Ruud Hullet, I feel that as a cam, he's a bit wasted. I like him as a CDM because he's got that physicality. He's big. He covers a lot of the pitch. And I'm looking at the Box Crasher, which is a defensive midfielder who can get forward to join the attack, making trailing runs into box if the opportunity arises. Is slow to return to their defensive duties. Ruud Hullet for me would be absolutely perfect as that. Arriving late into the box, particularly if there is, crossing, the height of him, powerful headers as well. He's good at shooting. That would be the ideal person. Now, he will be extremely expensive, so you never know. Hopefully, there's an SBC that we can all do. But Box Crasher for me is definitely a Ruud Hullet position, that one.
True. Last thing I do like, Chris, is the set piece assignments. In the FCQ now as well, you can, on attacking corners, you can now give them assignments on attacking corners. And I do think you can do it on defensive corners now as well. Also, you can say who are the throw-ins on the left and the right side.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes it really frustrates me that right forward that I wanted to give the ball to is actually taking the throw-in. Right? I'm like, oh, I can't really throw there because nobody is there. Why is he taking the throw-in? And now, like, far throwing isn't really a thing in FC.
No.
So that doesn't really matter. But especially with corners is like on the pitch football currently, you don't see many or at all. You actually don't see anyone standing near the post anymore. Right? That's done. That's not really happening anymore. But in FC, especially, for example, if crossing and heading would work, that could actually be really beneficial to do so. Allowing you to do so, I think is perfect.
No,
Or
definitely.
not, put less people in there and prepare for a counter easier. Also,
Well, that's
but at least it gives you
problem,
options.
Yeah, that's the important thing, because sometimes you do find that you win a header now, and there is only one person standing outside the box, isn't there, at the moment? So yeah, that definitely is something that is going to make the game better. John, we're coming to the end of our show. I have to say, you've got me hyped. I'm fully bought in on this. If these pitch notes are as good as the way that you've presented them, we're absolutely in for a wonderful game. Thank you so much, my friend.
Happy I could be of service. One thing I've not heard anyone about, but which is really cool. If you have a tactical code for FC25 for your current tactics, for example, you can just use that for FC26 as well. Wow. You apply it, and it will be actually, I think it will be converted to the FC26 standards. So what's not there anymore is not there anymore, and you can add the options as well. So you can build from your current systems as well. I think that's a neat addition, which they didn't really have to do it, but I think that works out really well. So I'm happy with that, for example, as well.
No, definitely. It sounds amazing, John, doesn't it? Can't wait, can we?
No, I definitely can't wait to play Rush with a goalkeeper now.
You're the only person that will play goalkeeper in Rush, my friend.
Maybe, but it's still fun. They gave me the option this year at least. Chris, this show will be on public podcast service this Thursday. On Friday, the database will drop, and we'll definitely talk about the full database then. We already seen some hints, but we're getting there. Today, also, the soundtrack got released. Have you already listened to it? Are you someone that cares about the soundtrack, or?
Yeah, I do, John. I actually do care about the soundtrack, because let's be honest, you're going to have this game for a year. You're going to be sitting there, if you're like me, in between grinding the menus, listening to those songs. So I'm going to go and listen to them. Every year I always go, who's that? Never heard of them before. That is my age, my own fault. But I do like them, and I cannot wait to get the new songs in the soundtrack.
Go check it out. It's on Spotify, the official EA FC26 playlist. It's called. All the numbers are there. And if you're on Spotify, drop us a 5-star review, will ya? It takes 2 seconds if you're already looking for the songs anyways. And you very much help us. Chris?
Yes.
It's been a pleasure, my friend.
As always, mate.
One thing left for us to do, though. Drop it.
Drop it.
Drop it.
F-U-T. F-U-T. F-F-F-U-T. F-U-T. T. T. In view. F-U-T.